Hi, welcome to the Drama Free Living Podcast. It's Dennis and Lisa McIntee. And Lisa, we're here again. And I think I'm just going to tell the truth.
Okay.
I'm going to tell the truth today, okay? And
I never know what's going to come out of your mouth when you say you're going to tell the truth.
You know what's cool? I don't either, right? So that's what makes it even more interesting. Well, you know, the truth is, Lisa, and I don't know if you know this about me, and just kind of tell all, is that I'm a procrastinator. I am. Right? It's like, hi, my name is Dennis, and I'm a procrastinator. And so let's dive into this whole idea of procrastination, because I think we've got some interesting ideas to kind of flip it on its head a little bit and maybe change the discussion, you know, about why we procrastinate and, you know, what happens with us and almost like what to do about it.
Absolutely. There's been all kinds of studies on procrastination, and there's like these 4 levels of there's conscious behavior in these 4 different areas of consciousness of conscious behavior, and that's kind of all wrapped up in the procrastination idea.
All right.
And they found that predominantly it's things like fear of failure, because we're afraid that we are going to fail at something. So we are hesitant to do it, right? Lack of motivation. I just don't really want to. It's not something that I'm passionate about.
Yep.
So I'm going to procrastinate because I'm not truly motivated to do this.
Yeah.
Perfectionism paralysis. So if I can't do it perfect, if I can't do it exactly the way it needs to be done, that can cause me procrastination. Or also poor time management. I just didn't order my day well. I just didn't order my week well or my month well, and I didn't time block, or I didn't set things aside. And all of these things are foundational ways that studies have shown the neuroscience. They've figured out all of these things, and these are 4 key indicators on what causes procrastination. And what's fascinating is that there's the fear of failure. There's that fear that something's not going to go well. It's not going to turn out right. And it's a true base emotion that we're dealing with. And then that lack of a motivation is also a true base, truly an emotion. But a lot of times with lack of a motivation, it can be either A, you are not the one that should be doing this because it's not something that you're truly interested in, or B, it's something that you have to do even though it's not something you're truly interested in either. I mean, a good example is you have a baby and you love your baby and you also have to change the diapers. And so I personally—
please don't procrastinate and change that diaper.
So our granddaughter, you know, she needs her diaper changed sometimes. And honestly, you know, I don't love poopy diapers. There's nothing about poopy diapers that I love, but I love our granddaughter. And you can do that. You can take that and put into a work setting. You may love the creative strategy work, but you don't necessarily love having to communicate the details of it to a team member so they can carry it forward. That doesn't mean you have to do the details, but it does mean you have to communicate it. And sometimes that lack of motivation, because it's just something that we aren't great at, or we're not passionate about, we still have to do. You can't always delegate those. Well, and then there's the perfectionism, the perfection paralysis. And sometimes that's just a matter of, that can be an internal issue of, hey, I want to do things perfect. I want people to see me as an expert, and I want to show up well. And so we deal with perfectionism and this paralysis of it. And then poor time management also, that's one of those things that it's a matter of, okay, let's sit down and let's time block it out. And sometimes it's just, we just get lazy, or we get forgetful, or sometimes we just kind of go on autopilot and we forget to be very intentional.
Well, Lisa, isn't it, as you're kind of like listing these things like fear, motivation, these things, doesn't it really mean that procrastination is an emotional issue?
Absolutely.
Right.
They have found that the core base behind procrastination is an emotional issue. It's a consciousness and emotional issue.
Yeah, it's really why we created Emotionally Intelligent. If you have not downloaded, if you not went and got the course on becoming more emotionally intelligent, it really kind of deals with this procrastination really strong, and really some strategies and how to get over it. So you think about like fear of failure. So it's almost like, Lisa, you have to do it afraid. You feel the fear, you have to do it, right? perfectionism paralysis. Would you say sometimes you have to do it a little bit incorrect? Like sort of just try, right? Almost like don't be afraid of failing. Well, of course you're going to learn something, right? So almost do it correct. And then, this, poor time management, almost like do it now, right? But sometimes those kind of go against the grain of how we feel about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And with that, what we have to know is we have to humanize procrastination.
Yeah.
We have to humanize ourselves. We have to humanize that sometimes we're afraid that we're going to do something wrong. And maybe we just have to do it and it might be wrong. Or sometimes we're just not motivated and it's okay that you just need to start doing it. You need to allow yourself a time block, or the minute it hits your mind, you roll with it. And it's okay and it's normal. Procrastination is just a normal feeling.
Okay, so let's kind of just stop there for a minute. Okay, so if it's normal, I think so it means we all do it.
We do.
Right? And I think we want to maybe kind of bring it out on the table and have a conversation about it, because I know when I'm open and transparent about it, and, you want to talk about humanizing it, is that when I get some help with it, right? For example, we're working on a project to do a new video for our leadership roundtable. We've got some new sessions starting. We're going to launch it. And Lisa, I procrastinated for about a week trying to come up with the script. I had a team member write the script, and I just needed to refine it. And I procrastinated for at least a week. And then I realized, at least, right?
It was a month.
Yeah. I said, okay, I'm going to do it. Thanks. And I'm taking it. And I just procrastinated. And I realized it's like, okay, I need to get some help. But it wasn't until I just told the truth. And honestly, one of our team members, I said, hey, can I talk? And I said, I'm procrastinating on this. I'm just procrastinating. Can you take this and just take it to a next step and bring it back to me? Help me. And it took her literally I think less than a day, sent it back to me. And as soon as I got those corrections, Lisa, I knew exactly what to do next. But just looking at that piece of paper, I was just almost paralyzed. What's the word? Paralyzed. Paralyzed.
Absolutely. Well, okay. So what's fascinating is all of these things that we're talking about, and we think we know. They've done studies. There's this neuroscience. They've studied all of these things, and they've discovered these are real deal things. So this Baumeister and Thies, these two guys, they did a study back in 1997. Yeah, and the study was the role of mood repair in procrastination.
Okay, this is fascinating.
They did a whole study. Okay. And basically what they came up with is the purpose of procrastination is it's a way to alleviate negative mood states by providing short-term relief. There is nothing wrong with procrastination. It's a way to alleviate negative mood states by providing short-term relief. Now, the problem with procrastination is if you move your car from short-term parking to long-term parking. That's when it gets to be a problem. But there's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, this kind of overwhelms me right now, and I am going to put the push pause button on it. And when you push pause on it, as long as you're coming back within a reasonable time frame that's set within the deadline of what needs to happen, it's perfectly fine. But sometimes we just need a chance to be able to lower our cortisol levels. Yeah. We need a chance to be able to get to do it maybe when we're at a time when we have a higher energy level, maybe when the sun is shining instead of when it's cloudy, or doing it when we're fresh and alert instead of when we're tired and have a foggy mind. What? Or also for me, I procrastinated getting some work done yesterday while we were flying because I cannot concentrate when have all of these people around me and they're all talking and they're doing different things. It's too much stimuli because that was a negative mood. It's a negative mood state. I'm overwhelmed with it. So I procrastinated, but that was a conscious decision that I'm procrastinating because right now, honestly, I'm just not going to be effective doing it.
Well, Lisa, and I think it's this idea that we all procrastinate about different things. And sometimes we look at other people like Lisa, I can work very well in that kind of environment where there's a lot of different people. I work great in airplanes. I work great in the airport. And I could have just said, well, listen, you can do it. I can do it. If I can do it, you can do it too. And just but
or you saying, okay, well, what can I do? How can I help you? How can I help you be able to concentrate and focus more? It's like, okay, pull a curtain all around me. I finally put my earbuds in, my noise canceling, and then I had to put the ambient sound in, and I had to turn it up loud because the ladies across from me were speaking Italian, and they weren't even talking very loudly. But the fact that I could see them and hear them, I couldn't focus on what I was doing.
Yeah. So our encouragement is we don't want you to beat yourself up because you procrastinate. We just want you to look at it as information and realize what you're doing. And Lisa, here's another idea that I sort of had is I think procrastination many times is sort of like a sign of great ambition. Okay, because think about this, right? It's like I'm right here and I want to get this goal, right? I want to do this, but I don't know how. Right? Or I don't feel capable. I don't feel like, I have everything. So the very first thing I do is I procrastinate because I just don't know. And here's what's interesting. I think we all procrastinate in just telling the truth. Now, some people, they procrastinate for years. Some people days. But you all procrastinate. Sometimes you procrastinate for 10 minutes. But just normalizing it. And I think we want it to be a topic of conversation. A lot of times people don't bring it up because they feel like, it makes me weak. But it's just a sign of maybe what you're good at, what you're not good at. And Lisa, I love it when we have our team members tell us they're procrastinating.
So when you say procrastination is a sign of great ambition, because I think of it and I think, honestly, I think procrastination is just a sign of laziness, which is completely
maybe it's a result, maybe not a sign, but maybe it's sort of like it's a byproduct of ambition.
And even my thought procrastination is a sign of laziness is not helpful. And based on this study by Baumeister and Thies, it's completely inaccurate.
Because then you just beat yourself up, right? You're
right.
Just
Procrastination is a way to alleviate negative mood states by providing short-term relief. And then us taking responsibility of it and saying, okay, just how short-term is short-term? Because if
right, I think that's the key, right?
Because it turns into laziness possibly if you turn that short-term into longer. I mean, because maybe it's a sign that you just need to delegate, or maybe it's a sign that you just need to get your butt moving, or maybe it's a sign that you need therapy because you are just completely overwhelmed and you can't do what you're doing. I mean, there's so much to unpack in that.
Yeah, and we really want to kind of normalize it with this conversation, is kind of get it out on the table and realize that it's human to procrastinate. And Lisa, do you find it true that you typically rarely procrastinate on things you love or things you're really good at?
Yes.
Right? You rarely, because it's like just you're fascinated and motivated by that task, and just the task itself is motivating and fascinating. And so because of that task, you rarely procrastinate on those things.
But also on the flip side of that, I'm thinking about, we just had a lot of our family in town. Our daughter was engaged, and our son got engaged too. But it was
everywhere.
It was a big month. It was a big month for us. But so we had a lot of family in town, and they were all staying with us. And so I actually procrastinated, though, on some things that I loved because there were more urgent things in front of me. We had family in town, and when there's family in town, there's things that we want to do with them and things that need to be done. And some of those things I enjoyed, and a lot of those things I didn't necessarily enjoy. I loved having our family in. But I didn't necessarily love all of the things that I had to do, but I had to procrastinate on some of the things that I love because of the responsibilities that were in front of me that I needed to do.
Okay, well, let me ask you this then. Did you really procrastinate or did you really prioritize?
Both. I can say both.
Yeah. Because
I don't know that it was a conscious prioritization. Well, it was a conscious prioritization in that I knew this needs to happen first.
Yeah. And I think
because it was what was in front of me.
Right. And I think this is the key of like not beating yourself up, because priorities shift a lot of times because there are certain outside
sometimes
forces,
minute by minute,
and they can, and that's okay. But I just want to encourage people, like, stop beating yourself up about it. When you beat yourself up about it, you're no longer strategic and it no longer becomes useful, right? And I think that's the key. When it no longer – and really procrastination is very useful. It's really just information. It's a sign, and it just tells me some things that are going on, and I can actually use it for my good. Mm-hmm. And I think that's sort of the key.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
So isn't it really that you don't feel confident, capable, or sometimes not committed to something, right? It's almost like, so I have this dream and I don't feel confident. I don't know how it's going to work. I don't feel like necessarily capable, and then sometimes it's like I'm just not committed. And I think, what I've realized is that just tell the truth. Yeah, I think commitment is the easiest one because you either are or you aren't, and just tell yourself the truth. Lisa, I remember as we were doing our weight loss journey, this is just probably a couple of years ago, and I don't know if you remember this, but we were just talking about strategies and Dennis, you can do this and Dennis. And I remember just looking at you and I just said, Lisa, that's a great idea. And I love that idea. But the truth is I'm not committed to it, and I'm not going to do that. And all of a sudden, was I procrastinating anymore? No, I just decided that was not what I was going to do. And so the key is like, then if that's the idea, then how do I grow my confidence? How do I grow my capability? And how do I grow my commitment? Mm-hmm. I remember talking to Jason Nutting, our nutrition coach at the time. And I said, Jason, I said, what I need is I just need some help on upping my commitment. I said, because the truth is I mentally assent that this is something I should do, but I just don't want to. I said, I have to increase my want to.
And sometimes we have to do that, and we have to utilize external. If we don't have enough of the internal force and the internal commitment pushing us through the internal drive, sometimes we have to exert external situations around us to up our commitment and up our drive.
Yeah, at least it's why we created. So what we created, and if you're listening on your podcast app, you can just go over to YouTube and you'll see me hold this up. It's called the Procrastination Utilizer. And
you can download that. It's in the show notes.
Yeah, we're going to put it in the show notes just for you.
Or you can go to the website.
Right, it'll be right there. But it's this whole 4-step process where you can just work through a task that you feel like you're procrastinating on. Right. For example, Lisa, we'll just and the first thing you want to ask is like, hey, what's giving me confidence right now?
Before you go into this, there's the purpose of the worksheet. It's a journal. It's a form of journaling, because some people can process internally and go through all of the things if you've just got the questions. Other people, you have to write it out. It's a lot of people. It's connected to your brain being able to log it on paper, getting your thoughts out on paper and kind of getting the spaghetti out of your head. And so being able to have a tool that you actually write it down on and kind of throw your thoughts out on your head. I'm an internal processor, and I can do a lot of that internally, but I still have to have the questions in front of me. But for me to even dive deeper, if I put it on paper, I can go through it so much quicker.
Well, Lisa, and I think this is sort of what's happening when you procrastinate, is that your confidence is low and your concerns are higher, right? You have low confidence and you have high concerns. And not that the concerns are going to leave, but you want to kind of even them out a little bit better. That's sort of the idea. So you're procrastinating. Typically, your confidence is a little lower. I'm not quite sure how it's going to work. I'm not quite sure how to do that. It might crash and burn out. And you have all these concerns, and you just want to like get them back to a level playing field. Mm-hmm. Because I think many times if you're going to step out and do projects and assignments and tasks or anything, right, they're going to have a level of concern to it. It's sort of like you want to use that to drive you. So it walks through like really just basically some basic questions. First of all, what gives me confidence about this right now? And then what are my concerns? And then who or what can help? So let me just give you an example. Okay, so this is about a year ago, we were redoing the website. We were having to make some big investments in the website, and I was just procrastinating. The team wanted to move forward, right? I wasn't sure.
You wanted to move forward.
And I wanted to move forward, but I just had these concerns that it was a big investment, and will we get a return on this investment? And so I just went down and I said, okay, what's giving me confidence? And I thought, okay, what gives me confidence is we have a really good team, right? And when our team knows what to do, they actually really do it. Right. And, we're very creative. Our team is very, very creative. We've got great feedback from clients. And we just went through these confidence. And then I said, okay, what are my concerns? And I thought, okay, we don't have somebody really to run point. We tend to create better than we market. We don't have good copywriting. And I just went through, these are my concerns. So this is my confidence, these are my concerns. And Lisa, and I remember sharing it with the team. And I think that's the key is like, I told them, this gives me confidence, this gives me concerns. And they just took all of my concerns and we just created a strategy for each concern. And the key is like who or what can help. And I think here's where you got to like collaborate and have people step into is sort of your concerns. And many times your concerns are things that maybe you're not good at, maybe things that you're not confident and capable at.
Or you haven't developed the skill in that area.
Right. And so you just sort of need to phone a friend. And sometimes you just need the emotional support. Say, I'm just going to check in with you every day.
Well, we have one client. He has one of the guys that works for him, and he comes in and he sits and he drinks a cup of coffee while the owner of the company does what he needs to do for this other director. Yeah. And because the owner wants it done. Yeah. And he wants to do it, but just doesn't really want to do it. And so the director comes in and he sits down and he just drinks his coffee and he sits there while the owner of the company goes through and he actually completes the information that the director needs. And it's simply because he needs a who or a what, because he's procrastinating. Well, Lisa, and sometimes the solutions are just that easy.
Oh, so, and I think being aware of what you're procrastinating on. So this has been a couple months ago is, our project management person, Mary Grace, she was saying, Dennis, I need these tools for this client. I said, yeah, put on my calendar. I'll do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow went, didn't do it. I said, okay, put on my calendar tomorrow. I'll do it. And this went on for like about a week. And I kept pushing it back. And I realized, okay, I'm procrastinating. And finally she said, okay, I need those. I said, hold on, Mary Grace, just sit on the phone with me. And she just sat there silently, and it took me about 10 minutes, and boom, I got the tools.
I don't even think it was 10.
It might not even been.
It was probably like 3 minutes.
Right, but I said, just sit on the phone. And it's something I had procrastinated for a whole week.
And when you consider, okay, what is your hourly pay rate?
Oh, gosh.
And how much time you spent procrastinating and what is, your employee's hourly pay rate, you can afford to pull them in for 10 or 15 minutes to get a project done that you've procrastinated hours for.
Yeah. And I think you want to collaborate. When you're procrastinating, sort of the key is just get some collaboration. Okay. Now, and I think the whole problem with this idea of collaboration, we're not taught to collaborate, Lisa. I mean, think about the school system, right? The school system itself teaches us not to collaborate. It teaches us to compete, right? Imagine what the school would be like if you and I got together and said, hey, Lisa, I'm really good with math, so I'm going to do all your math homework. But, I really am bad in English, so can you do all my English homework, right? What do we call that? We call that cheating. And the problem is we go through like a school system, right? But then we get into the real world and we think, I got to do it all myself. Well, I got to be good at math, science, English, instead of, creating, organizations where people are just in their core competencies and we're able to collaborate with other people that are maybe stronger in other areas.
I don't think it's necessarily the school system that promotes competition instead of collaboration. I think it's our culture.
Yeah, maybe
our culture.
So.
Our culture really pushes competition over collaboration, and we're learning that and we're working through that. And thankfully, I think there are some. I mean, we've got teachers in our family, and we've got some teachers, some educators that are really good friends.
And I knew they were going to be listening to this, and it probably just like really made them angry.
Well, because I don't think it's accurate. I don't think what you said is accurate because there's a lot of ways that they are developing and they're talking about, okay, how can we collaborate together? How can we do study groups together? And how can we, because they're aware we are trying to counteract this lack of collaboration, because collaboration is so important, because our culture drives us to competition and our culture drives us to, who gets the first place trophy instead of how can we all work together. And that's one of those things that when we learn true collaboration and how we are all in this together.
Do you think we'll ever get to a point where it's like you can do all my English homework and I'll do all your math homework?
I am not doing any math homework ever again, unless it's with my grandkids and I'm helping them. Just letting you know that.
Well, so, and I think that's the key is like you only collaborate when you're open, honest, transparent. And, life changes when you say, hey, I'm procrastinating on this. Can I get some help? Mm-hmm. Do you have an idea? Because sometimes you use collaboration to get different perspectives,
right?
Ways that you don't see it. And I think also, Lisa, collaboration fosters a sense of accountability. Because when I'm open about things that have to get done and maybe things that are on my plate, right? I can kind of beat that procrastination because I think it's easier to let yourself down, but it's harder to let others down. I mean, think about it, like how many appointments do I just miss with myself?
Right.
But if it's an appointment with you or a team member, I don't really miss those so much, or a client.
It's that old people pleasing and wanting to look good in front of other people thing.
It is, and and I have part of that, so I might as well just use it for my benefit, right? Instead of like thinking of it like almost like, hey, this is a superpower, and kind of use it as as a benefit. And you kind of want to share goals, share objectives, and then collaboration allows for mutual support because sometimes things are hard.
Yeah.
Like for me to do something, for whatever reason, for me to pick out the tools for that client was hard. Right. But Mary Grace just sitting on the phone with me
just made it so much easier because you weren't in it. You weren't doing it alone.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we all get stuck and realize I typically get stuck and I procrastinate because I'm not really confident. I don't feel capable. And so you want to bring different team members with different skill sets and talents to the table. Lisa, I'm not good at correcting documents, right? Looking for the details. But I can give it to you and you can do it like boom, 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 and it takes you 5 minutes. Where if you would ask me to do it, it's going to take me an hour at least. And it's probably not even going to be as good as you.
And there'll still be errors in it.
Yeah. And I think this whole idea of collaboration, it really provides that social interaction that helps set the mood.
Absolutely. Because when it comes down to it, we're all good at different things. And so when we can utilize each other's strengths, especially in the areas that we're just hesitant on, then we can move faster and we can move farther together.
Yeah, perfect. And so we want to use collaboration. So download the tool is there. And then I think really getting comfortable with the unknown is sort of a key because I think we typically procrastinate on what we feel uncertain about. Mm-hmm. And it's these uncertainties, and we almost want to take uncertainties and make them certain. But if they're uncertain, when we procrastinate, we'll never make them certain. But you want to use activation to take an uncertainty and make it certain. It's this whole idea, and I think Jack Canfield really made this popular. It's called E plus R equals O. E plus R equals O. And here's what it stands for. It says the events plus my response determines the outcome. The events plus my response to that event determines the outcome. But here's the thing. I can't control events. I can't control other people. I can't control the weather. I can't control what other clients do. I can't control what people say. You can't. And I think we get frustrated when I'm trying to control things that are really out of my control and realize I have very little control. The only thing that I'm in charge of is I'm in charge of me. I'm in charge of my response. And when I'm responsible, I'm more responsive. And it's this whole idea of being adaptable to just challenges and changes because uncertainty is really the environment where ideas thrive. Like think about it, right? It's like when we don't know, we're uncertain, ideas thrive a whole lot.
Absolutely.
So, let's be flexible with our goals, right? Think, okay, it's progress, not perfection. I think that is such a fantastic, and I think it's a Alcoholics Anonymous statement.
I have no idea, but
I'm not sure where it comes from, but it has really helped me, right? It's like, okay, progress, not perfection. It doesn't have to be perfect. We just have to make progress. And almost like being okay with failure and almost looking at life and looking at different projects or tasks as just big experiments. Hey, we're going to do this experiment. Now think about, Lisa, if I'm doing an experiment, don't I expect to fail?
It's an experiment.
It's an experiment. But if you look at your life as an experiment, you look at every experience, every project as an experience, or experiment, every task. You look at it as an experiment. You go, what are we going to learn? We might fail. It might crash and burn, but it's going to be okay, right? It's going to be okay. We're going to learn from this experience. And then I think really what's helped me, Lisa, is just really seeking support. Mm-hmm. Is getting it out in the open and kind of talking about the uncertainty. And many times me talking about it kind of develops that resiliency.
And that's the next action steps on our procrastination utilizer is what gives me confidence, and then what are my concerns, who or what can help, and then our next action steps. And that a lot of times those next action steps are the seeking support and what we're doing next.
Well, and I think that's the key. When people don't know what to do, they do nothing. Right? When I don't know what to do, I do nothing. And then nothing ever gets moved forward. And it's okay not to know what to do, but you want to use that to go do something. And I think this tool, the procrastination utilizer, you actually utilize your procrastination for something good.
Right.
Right? And almost like ask yourself, okay, what am I procrastinating on right now? Boom, I'm procrastinating on this. Okay, well, what's one thing I could do to move forward? And then you actually procrastinate your way to productivity. Mm-hmm. You can actually be productive if you just move steps forward on your procrastination.
Right, because when you see procrastination as a part of your productivity, that's when you get the power.
Yeah, and so it's really progress, not perfection. I think, Lisa, for me, I have to get better at talking about my procrastination. Because I think I do a good job at it, but it just kind of hit me. I think there's things right now that I just need to tell the truth a little better and go, I'm procrastinating on this, and go get some help. I think there's some things like in our personal life that I'm procrastinating on, and I just need to like go get some support and just tell the truth. First of all, say, hey, I'm procrastinating on this. Can you help me? Can you give me an idea, a strategy, and just get it out into the open? Because whatever stays in the dark grows. Right? Procrastination that you keep in the dark, it's like mold. It just kind of grows. And procrastination, but if you get it into the light, it's like sunlight is the best disinfectant. So just get your procrastination, get it out into the light, and go get some help with it.
Absolutely. For me, procrastination, just the humanizing of procrastination, that procrastination is good, and actually procrastination is healthy.
Yeah.
Because when we see procrastination as something negative and we see it as a bad thing, then our harsh inner critic kind of takes over. But when we see procrastination as a way to alleviate a negative mood state by giving us a short-term relief, that's actually a positive thing. So procrastination is part of the way forward. It's just preparing us to move to the next step.
Wow, procrastination is the way forward. Right? Wow, that's really helpful. So listen, it's there in the show notes. And if you have not engaged in the course Emotionally Intelligent, we want to encourage you, we'll put a link there. It's for you. It's a fantastic resource. So check it out. But Procrastination Utilizer is our free gift to you. And Lisa, are we done?
I think we're done.
Listen, we'll see you next time on the Drama Free Living Podcast.